What's up, Dobo?
Not much, man. How's it going? Beaches of Norman Dan?
Man, it's going. How you been? How's your week? How's your day? How's your minute?
Dude, my week has been great. My day has been pretty good. And as we record this, we're recording on Tuesday night, and I got to get up at 6 in the morning, and I'm headed to Jim Beam Distillery to do a barrel pick with some pretty influential people in the bourbon industry here. And I think it's going to be a fun day, man.
That's gonna be freaking awesome, dude. I think that's gonna be pretty sweet. I wish I could do it, but I got one that'll top you off.
Hmm.
I got to get up at 5:30, and I got to go to PT and go to work tomorrow.
Dude, I'll trade you.
Beat that,
I'll trade you.
dude. I do want to know though. I know tomorrow that whenever you get done with everything. So I get
Mhm.
off work at 3 like usual. She's got an appointment tomorrow at 3:30, but on my way back, I will call you. It's probably going to be about 5 or so your time. I do want to
Yeah,
know how that went.
dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll be glad to
So
chit chat with you. And
we can chit chat. Um, but having speaking of like chit chat rhymes with like vacuum cleaners and floor fans and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah,
You ready to build a bar?
dude, let's do it.
Do it. All right. So last week, and I'm very excited about this episode. Last week we did 5 of my bourbon picks, and this is not like a bourbon pick of this is your best bang for your buck, or this is what's available in your area, or this is like what you get for being a good boy, or whatever the case is. What we're talking about is 5 of like in our season that we're in right now. What is our
Mhm.
5 top bourbons that we drink? So I went
Cool.
through mine last week, and and again, I'll reiterate that you and I have not talked about or discussed what I was bringing to the table or what you were going to bring to the table. So I'm excited about hearing what you have. So without further ado, we all know what I brought to the table. I mean, we all know that.
We all know that.
We all know that. What did you bring to the table?
All right, so mhm,
Let's cheers
as I
first.
do. Oh yeah,
Let's cheers and let's get this thing going.
cheers. So as we all know, I generally like to overthink things, and so not only did I bring my five bourbons that I'm drinking right now and really kind of into, but I ranked them 1 through 5 based on how much I'm really enjoying them. And so the first bottle that I brought is this Coors Whiskey Company. It's the Five Trail. And if you haven't heard of it, this is a basically a collaboration between Coors Whiskey and some other distilleries. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time on like the basics of this because probably eventually this might end up on our actual Build a Bar episode. But I do want to say what I like about it is when I was in Colorado last year filming with Steve Akeley, my buddy, we ran into this and I had never even heard of it. I didn't even know Coors had a whiskey brand or anything, but it makes total sense because what this is, it's not a bourbon, it's a blended whiskey. And so I'm looking at their website right now. It's a blend of a 4 year weeded bourbon from Indiana, which is made up of 51% corn, 45% wheat, and 4% malted barley, which that's a lot of wheat. That's a heavy wheat. So it's 51% that. It's 36% a 4 grain bourbon from Kentucky, which is corn, rye, wheat, and malt. 8% of it is a 6 year single malt Colorado, which is 100% malt. And then 5% of it is a 12-year Kentucky bourbon of corn, rye, and malt. And then it's blended down with Colorado mountain water. So it kind of the claim to fame to this whiskey is that it's using the best of Colorado, but it's also blending with, some of the best of like Indiana, Kentucky bourbon. So I'm just a fan of it. We bought a bottle of it when we were in Colorado, and we tried it, and I mean I'm a fan of it. I know this is probably, of all my bottles that I'm bringing today, this is probably the most gimmicky one, in terms of like, you think of gimmicky, the whatever. So it is a little gimmicky. I probably get that, but I'm a fan of it. And since then, this is probably my fourth bottle that I've bought. And I've even bought the cast strength version of it, which is really good. It brings out a whole bunch more, notes and things. And the cast strength kind of takes away from the idea that it's proof down with mountain water, because cast strength isn't proof down at all. So it takes that out of it, but it's still a good product. And for the price, I mean, it's, you're looking at 40, $50 ish, but it's a really good product. And we also talked last week kind of about a lot of times what we drink isn't necessarily just about the flavors and, trying to get vanilla hints and all that kind of stuff, but it's about, it takes you back. And one of the things that I do when I do my, my journey through the American spirits filming and editing and stuff, and when I do stuff for Bourbon Sasquatch, whatever. So like I was in Colorado for 5 or 7 days last year. And so whenever I drink this, like usually it's when I'm editing stuff from filming back then, and to me, we talked a little bit about this last week, but to me, it's not just about the flavors. It's about, it takes me back as I'm editing and I'm looking through all this footage and I'm remembering the times that I was in Colorado filming and whatever. This drinking this and other spirits that I brought back from Colorado, it just helps kind of just set the mood and get me, get my head straight when I'm editing and I'm putting it together. So in essence, when you see a piece that I've worked on, not only is it indicative of like me being there filming, but when I'm sitting here editing, I'm partaking of what, the spirits that we were talking about, or what, so to me, it kind of brings it around full circle. So that's why chose to bring this first today. Yes, you have your hand raised.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just had a quick question, real quick. Sorry, dude. I guess we've never really had a conversation about. I mean, I know that we've had a conversation about this specific brand, but
Right.
you and I have never talked about the mash bill of this. And so, knowing that it's the best of Indiana, Kentucky, and Colorado, I do have a legitimate question. This is not for the viewers, or hopefully it is, but this is for me.
Yeah.
Can I buy this online? And the reason I say that is because there's two folds to this. Number one, I do want to try because there's so many different grains, because the grains, and I kind of like you said, I don't want to like hijack this, but I do want to say that the grain, like even though they're similar grains in three different
Mhm.
territories, each of those grains taste different. As an example, I raised G90 corn. PP
Mhm.
raises, your dad raises G90 corn in Mississippi, but
Does
those
he?
those two taste different. So
Right.
I would like to know, number one, from the cast strength aspect, I want to know what it tastes like in its full breath. But
Oh
number
yeah.
two, that mountain water that they use out in Colorado is naturally sweet. And I don't mean like sugar sweet. I can't explain it, but it's naturally sweet.
Oh yeah.
I want to try what you're drinking. So can I get this? And I know that we're not doing this, but can I get this online?
You can get it online, or I guarantee you, this is spread world. This is world spread. This is whatever the word I'm looking for, available. This is available enough that you should be able to get it at your liquor store. Um,
Okay.
and I know when it first came out, it had a pretty hefty price tag on it, and it's come down a lot since then. So you should be able to get. I know you should be able to get the blended, just the the flagship blended
Ooh,
American whiskey at any liquor store. You might have some hard times finding the cask strength, but this one you should be able to find it, and
ooh.
it's to me, man. I mean, gimmick aside or whatever, just being a Coors thing aside, it's worth to me. It's worth the money. It's a good product. It's a good solid product.
Sweet.
And I mean, that's actually what I have in my glass right now. Of the five that I brought, this is what I'm drinking on. And dude, it's super complex. Which like I read off all the stuff about it. I mean, it should be complex because it's got all that stuff in there, but
Yes.
it doesn't taste like when you think about how all it's like one bourbon blended with another bourbon, blended with a single malt, blended with another bourbon. You would think like it's like taking four meals and blending them together and it tastes like mush. It's not like that at
No
all.
way,
The
dude.
complexity of it is pretty phenomenal.
That
So
is awesome. Let me smell it.
here, there
Oh
you go.
gosh, yes,
There you
yes,
go.
sir.
All right, that's number one.
Okay.
Second bottle that I'm bringing tonight is a bottle of Goodwood, and this is the honey ale barrel finish. And
Okay.
so, what do what?
I said okay.
What's special about this bottle to me is when Heather and I moved to Kentucky 3 years ago. Quickly, one of the restaurants that we found here in Frankfurt, which is about 35 minutes away from where we live, there's a restaurant called Goodwood. And it's a restaurant and it's a brewery. They make their own beer. But what they do is, and I think this is super neat, they don't distill their own stuff. They actually get it from 1792 distillery, the Barton 1792 distillery. It's their distillate. But what they do is they'll take a barrel. So they get a barrel like, like this particular bourbon is from their honey ale barrel. So they'll get a barrel that's had honey in it. They'll age their ale in it, and then when they dump their ale, they'll fill it with this Barton 1792 distillate and let it sit in there. And so when it comes out, it is a honey ale barrel finished product. And so they're good about having different finishes like that. So they have several different. They have like a walnut ale finished bourbon. And so what's special about this bottle to me is Heather and I will go and we'll go eat there. We eat there probably a couple times a month, but at least one time a month when we go there, we bring back a bottle of this. And dude, I don't know. I've seen it in stores around here, so I've seen it in liquor stores, so I know they have distribution at least around
Yeah.
here. But that's the other thing I wanted to kind of touch on really quickly is this what we're doing last week and this week isn't it goes against kind of what the format of our show, because the format of building a bar is to find stuff that's readily available and it's not at a high cost and it's just stuff that you could build a good bar with and have a good variety. But some of these that you presented and I'm presenting are going to be hard to find or going to be almost impossible to find, or they may be a little bit more pricey than what we like to talk about. But that doesn't mean that they're not good bourbons. And this one to me is I mean, it's always on my bar. We always have a bottle of Goodwood on there because it's a good product. 1792 distills some, pretty good stuff. And then what they do with it is pretty phenomenal. So I mean, it's got a sweet finish to it. I mean, and hopefully we'll have some here when you visit in a couple
Oh
of
yeah.
months and you'll get to try it. But yeah, it's definitely a good one. So that's why I have it as number two on my list as of right now. You raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry, I just had a quick question, real quick.
Hmm.
So you know how like they have things that's like sherry cask finish or a rum cask
Right, right.
finish? Not to be whatever, but it doesn't really have that rum taste or that sherry taste. Does this actually have that honey ale? Because dude, I'm a honey. Even though I'm allergic to it,
Hmm.
the term like things worth dying for.
Yeah.
um, like honey ale has a phenomenal taste.
Dude, I honestly think that it depends on what it is. So you'll see this poster behind me here, right here. You
Okay.
have a bottle of it, or at least you did. I bought you a bottle of it, but this distillery around here, Bluegrass Distillers, they did this pickle barrel finished bourbon. So it's basically like a bottle of pickleback shot, whatever.
Yeah.
And so something like that, and you are going to get a ton of like that pickle flavor from that. And, to me, sometimes, like if it's a deep, like Jamaican rum finished, or one of my other bottles that I'm bringing tonight, and we'll talk about it in a minute, is a Scotch, Islay Scotch finished product. And that you can definitely taste, so I think it depends on what it's finished in. If it's finished in a sherry cask, you're going to get like a hint of that, but it's not going to be overpowering. And I don't think the idea is for it to be overpowering, but like I know this Goodwood here, whenever you sip on it, you do. I mean, the finish of it is definitely a lot sweeter than normally you would
But
get
like a
off of that.
natural honey sweet, though, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, and the whole reason I ask that is, so I think that I'm becoming less allergic to honey. But honey for me,
Is that
um,
possible?
I think, man, well, we're gonna find out. I did get stung by a bee last week, so I think that that's kind of like a precursor to me being less allergic to honey. But dude, honey to me, like I can take cane sugar, which I like, or like brown sugar, which I also like. But there's just something natural about honeybees and honey that I love.
Right, right.
We've got a brewery here called Lost 40. I think that you've tried their Love Honey.
Hmm.
It's a very good honey beer. I mean, it's good, but it's got a natural honey flavor. And so I
Yeah, for
guess
sure.
that's what I was asking was like, what is that sweet finish? Is it a honey sweet finish or is it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely, you can definitely taste the honey in it. I mean, it's like I said, it's not like a honey bomb or anything.
Right, right, right.
And I use that term. I mean, I'm sure other people do too. But when I say something is a bomb, that means to me that like that's
Oh,
what you taste. It's
yeah,
100% that. So it's not like a honey bomb or anything, but it does have a definite sweetness to it that
perfect.
rounds it out.
That's awesome.
All right. And so that brings me to my third bottle. And much like the first, you got a question?
No, I was doing three.
Oh, okay. Yeah, three. Much like the first bottle, the Five Trail, which led me down the Colorado whiskey, the third bottle that I'm bringing is from a distillery out of St. Louis. It's still 630.
Mm,
It's their the Monon Bell cask strength straight bourbon whiskey. And much like my first bottle, this one, I mean, it's phenomenal. It's got a phenomenal flavor to it. And actually, I'm almost done with this. So I'm going to top off with this. But it's a phenomenal flavor. And to me, a couple about 4 months ago, I went to St. Louis, and my buddy Steve and I were doing a series of films. It started with Colorado whiskey. We're doing a St. Louis whiskey. We're eventually going to head out to Texas and do a Texas whiskey. We're going to go to New York and do a New York whiskey. So we're going to do a series of these films. So while I was in St. Louis, we highlighted this still 630, and I was so impressed with this distillery. And to give you kind of a hint of what's to come with that film is the still 630 is literally, it's almost under the arches of St. Louis. I mean, you can see the arches from the distillery, and it's in an old Hardee's building. It's like right downtown. But man, what they have done there is freaking amazing. And if I'll talk to my buddy Steve, and if it's okay, I may put a little bit of stuff in here that kind of shows you. Because man, when you walk in their distillery, he has this library of distillate, and so what he does is he'll every barrel he puts in. Dave is his name, the owner. every barrel he puts in, he'll taste it at like 6 months, a year, or a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. And he has this library all across the back wall of different distillates, and they do all kind of stuff. They do gin there, they do different spirits. So this library is full of these distillates, and you literally could go up to the desk and say, "Hey, I want to try distillate, whatever, AQ415 or whatever," and he has it listed. He knows what it is, and he can tell you this is such and such bourbon, or this is such and such gin, and it's at this age, and it's whatever. So he can tell you, and he can tell you the tasting notes, or he can go back and look and see. There's tasting notes from this barrel, and it tastes like this at 6 months, this at a year, this at a year and a half. It's amazing what they do there. And so, but this Monon Bell, it's actually named after a specific football game. And I don't want to get into all that, but there's a like a classic, it's the game of these two football game of these two colleges, and every year the winner takes the Monon Bell that came actually from the Monon Bell, the Monon train. They take the bell back or forth or whatever, so it's named after that. And this specific batch was named after the 128th classic Monon Bell. It's cask strength, so it's 123.6 proof.
Okay.
But it's really, it's very flavorful. And dude, I was impressed with every single distillery we filmed for this St. Louis bourbon or St. Louis whiskey film. But this guy, man, I was super impressed with his stuff and like what he did. So hats off to Still 630 and this product. So that's why I brought number 3. That's why I brought his number 3. So I see, Dan, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry for everybody else. I had just a quick little input here. Dude, I'm going to say this, man. Like, St. Louis has been my jam. You remember 2002. Dad was right. That is my all-time favorite hockey team, period. But you and I left Jackson, Mississippi in 2002 at 78 degrees.
Oh, yeah? Let's tell this whole story.
Let's tell the whole story. We're driving to see to go to St. Louis to see I don't know if it's our favorite band, but it's my favorite band, hands down.
It's definitely my favorite band.
Toad the West again,
yep.
We're going to see Toad the West Project, Glenn Phillips, the whole thing. And Alice Peacock was with them. And we're like, you know what? We're going to go out there and see it. We get to just south of there, and it's like 20 degrees. There's 100 feet of snow on the ground. And my dad was right.
My dad, yeah.
Yeah. We call him. He's like, yeah, son, by the time you get there, they're going to have them roads cleared. Not a road was clear.
We were in I think it was a 1999
Durango.
Was it 99? Yeah, it was 99. 1999 Durango. The tires weren't the best tires. They weren't quite bald yet.
They were
bald. I remember going down the interstate, and then you made if I turned the steering wheel slightly, we were sliding left and right, and
not messing around.
You were white knuckling everything. And then let's tell the awesome story about so this is how cold it was. About every hour or so, the accumulation would start building up on the windshield outside, and no matter what I would do, I would spray like the windshield stuff, and it would just stick to it. So I said, dang, how old were you? You were probably a senior in high school, maybe?
I was about 17.
Right, okay. So I said, all right, dude, this windshield wiper stuff isn't working. And I handed you a glass of water, and I said, or a bottle of water. I said, we're doing like 75 miles an hour down the interstate. I said, will you lean out the window and pour water on here so that way I can turn the windshield wipers on?
This is why I have trust issues.
You're like, okay, so you lean out, and when you start pouring it, the wind blows it all over you. And I'm saying, dude, it's like 20-degree weather, and you were screaming like a 5-year-old in kindergarten. It was the funniest story on ever.
Ah!
And you were so mad at me. You were like, "Did you know that was going to happen?" I said, "Of course I knew that was going to happen, idiot."
75 miles an hour. What else would happen?
So yeah, so that going. I know we've hammered this 10,000 times, but dude, it's stuff like that, man. When I drink this, I think about it's a St. Louis product, and it's
Yep.
a and I think of all that stuff. And dude, often I haven't quite started editing that project yet. I've done a little bit to it, but when I do edit that, I'm listening to Toad the Wet Sprocket while I
Yep.
do it, and I'm drinking St. Louis bourbon, and I'm gonna throw one or two more in there. I know we said five, but along with this, there's Stumpy Spirits is one that I did, and Adam Stump's a good friend of mine, and so he's part of that whole thing. And then so the whole thing is like it brings back not only just the taste sensory, but it's like all this stuff it brings back, the just these memories of things that we used to do. And so dude, that's why this is number 3 on my list.
That's awesome. I love that.
Number 4 on my list is, and here I want to apologize. I truly want to apologize, because this whole series is based on like the fact that you don't have to have a $500 bottle of bourbon, or you don't have to buy something that only you can never get again. It's about finding things that are easily affordable and easily found. But this is just the truth. This is one of mine that I'm drinking on. It's from my buddy Alan Bishop from the Spirits of French Lick. It's called Palindrome.
Oh, sweet.
And I'll just go ahead and say this: you're not going to find a bottle of it. They had a very limited series of these, and I lucked up, and we went to their distillery a couple months ago, and like this literally was like one of the last ones on the shelf, if not the last one. But so he came out with a couple months ago. It's basically a smoked apple brandy. It's apple
Mm.
brandy, but it's finished in an Islay Scotch barrel.
Golly, dude.
And so, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to take just a few minutes on this one, because
Do it.
this is truly one of those. This is like a single barrel to me. It's, what I love and slash hate about single barrels is you will find a delicious single barrel and you'll fall in love with it and you'll never taste it again.
Yep.
This to me is that product, because
Golly, dude.
it's an apple brandy. And if you know anything about Alan Bishop, you know that he is the king of brandy. I mean, he just, his brandy is phenomenal. But then when you add the fact that he finished it off in an Islay Scotch, and those of people that know us know that we're Islay Scotch freaks anyway. And I
Yeah.
lied about adding that. I'm gonna actually top off with this. So,
Yeah. No, do it. YOLO.
um, dude, and I need to look. It's about half gone now. I need to save this because you're coming here in July, and we're going to have that same phenomenon where we drink like 97 pours of things when you first get here. But this is barrel strength. It's 137.7 proof. So this is almost hazmat. I think hazmat is 140 proof or
Yeah. The
145 proof.
flashpoint.
Dude, this is almost hazmat. But funny story, dude, so a couple months ago, we went to their distillery. When we got back, um, we were, Heather, I bought this. I bought a single barrel Matty Glad, and I bought a couple of things. But when we got back, Heather said, "Can I try that apple brandy?" And I said, "Yeah." And dude, I will tell you this, man, to give Alan credit, it does not drink like 137 proof. To me, it drinks like maybe 100 proof.
Yep.
And so I poured a pour, and I was drinking it, and man, it was good. And so Heather said, "Can I take a drink?" And I said, "Yeah." So she takes a drink, and she's getting into bourbons more and more, but she's not like at 137 proof yet. So she starts like coughing, and she's like, "What proof is that?" And I said, "I don't know. It's like 100 proof or something. It's not bad." And then I looked on the bottom, and I'm like, "Sorry, Heather, it's 137.7. My bad." I just forgot because it doesn't drink like a 137 proof. But man, I'm gonna tell you what though, the apple brandy brings the sweetness and just the smoke of the Islay barrel. I'm telling you, man, it's like, dude, if you could imagine, and I know this isn't the point of this, but if you could imagine taking like s'mores and putting a slice of apple on it, dude, that's what this tastes like. I mean, mm, dude, it's phenomenal. And I'm telling you this, and I mean this with every ounce of everything. I will shed a tear when I drink the last of this bottle because it is that good. It is that good. I'm telling you, man. So that's my number 4 bottle. And I will dare to put. Oh, Dangle, I see Dangle, you have a question.
Wait, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was just going to ask, how much of that Scotch flavor pulls through?
It pulls through a lot on the end of it. So what's interesting about this, for those of you new to whiskey and bourbon, and like when I was new to it and people would say, man, this has a, on the front palate, it's got this flavor, and mid palate, it's got this. That didn't make sense to me because everything blurred to me. You know what I mean? Like it might start off very vanilla or caramelly, and then it just kind of morphed into stuff. But I couldn't say like definitively blah blah blah. But this if you could try this would change your mind on that, because when you sip this, at first it is a apple. I'll say this. I will say this. It's an apple bomb. I mean, it's very appley, and then mid palate to the to back palate, that smoke kicks in, and then dude, like any scotch, like any Islay scotch, it lingers, and
Mm,
that you probably notice that I drink a whole lot when we do these podcasts. Like I'm always sipping, but the last sip that I took a minute ago or whatever is still like it's still lingering. So it has a very long, like smoky Scotch Islay Scotchy finish. But I'm telling you, man, this
I love
this
that.
I wish to the heavens that this was a product that they could make it a staple product, because this is that good. I mean, this is phenomenal. It's I mean, and I never would have thought an apple brandy and I never would have thought to mix apple brandy and Islay Scotch. I never would have thought that would have been, but that's Alan's a genius like that. And dude, it literally tastes like, I'm telling you, from front palate to back palate, it tastes like a s'mores with with a slice of apple on it.
Dude, one of the things that I will say, there's an old saying that says that all things good come from all things that are good, that have been good and will be good again, that are good. And dude, I get it. I get it.
So that's my 4, and I'm
Okay.
gonna go on record. I'm gonna go on record here and say that if I'm ranking these from 5 to 1, this is actually number 2 and my number 1. My number 2 and my number 1, I think they are gonna stay my number 2 and my number 1 favorites for quite a while. Okay.
Okay.
Now, this one I'll never taste again because I'm pretty sure I either got the last bottle or close to the last bottle. So I'll never taste this again. And I'm going to try to save you some so you can at least taste it. But my number 1, drum roll, is a product that I just found out about a couple weeks ago. It is Rock Castle bourbon whiskey.
Ooh. Ooh.
Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, and it is a small batch product. And this particular product is barrel proof, so it comes in at 56.2 alcohol by volume. So that is what,
What you say,
112.4 proof?
52.2?
Huh?
You say 52.2?
No, 56.2. So that comes in at 112.4 proof,
Yeah.
if my math is right.
Let me
So,
check.
dude, let me tell you something about this bottle. And I need to take a sip of something other than alcohol because I've drank a pretty good bit over the past 2 episodes. Let me tell you something about this bottle. So, a couple weeks ago at my Frankfurt Bourbon Society, it's produced by Barrel House Distilling Company.
Okay.
So they sent a representative, their brand ambassador. They sent him out to our Frankfurt Bourbon Society to do a tasting one night, and so he brought all of their products. And I was super impressed with not only the brand ambassador, but his knowledge of the industry, his knowledge of whatever. But I will say this, man, and I'm very ashamed of this. So I'm not saying this in any kind of pride or whatever. I'm ashamed of this, but I had truly never heard of Barrel House Distilling, and I moved up here to Kentucky to be around distilleries and to be in the industry, and I never really heard of them. Well, come to find out, there's an area of Lexington called the Distillery District. They have Old Pepper Distillery there, and they're called Barrel House because they literally are in the barrel house of the old Pepper James Pepper Distillery.
Hmm.
So the James E. Pepper Distillery is a thing now. Like they revived that brand, and so that's a distillery now. But on the same grounds in the old Barrel House is Barrel House Distillery, and they're separate from James E. Pepper. They're their own distillery. They've been around since 2008. They're the first distillery in Lexington since Prohibition. But so anyway, the guy brings all this stuff. They do a vodka that's really good. I'm not a vodka guy at all,
Right.
but I'll say this, man, their vodka is made from 100% corn, and it's proof down with this Rock Castle County, which is just south of us, or south of Lexington. Rock Castle County, they have these springs there, and so it's Rock Castle County limestone spring water that they proof it down with. And so their vodka, it doesn't taste like vodka, dude. You know how vodka just has a very clear or very
Dry.
like rubbing alcohol kind of flavor? Dude, their vodka is really sweet. It's got this sweet corn finish. It's almost like, I know this isn't a real thing, but if you could finish vodka in a moonshine cask or something, it has like the hint of like corn at the end of it. It's super good. But anyway, they have a rum, and then they have a bourbon barrel aged rum that they age in bourbon barrels. They're used bourbon barrels for 4 years. They have a moonshine that's really good, and they have a bourbon barrel aged moonshine that's really good. And they have two bourbons, and this is one of them. And the only problem with this product is it's super hard to find. So they release this twice a year. They release it like in May or June, and then I think they release it again in October. And basically, you have to be at the distillery when they release it to get your bottle, or they put a few of them in distribution. And so once they're in distribution, if you can find it out in the wild, you can find it. But once they're gone, they're gone. And dude, I lucked up, man. Me and Heather went to Knoxville a couple weeks ago, and coming back, I'm not going to say the name of this liquor store because I don't want people to go there. But there's this liquor store between here and there that I always frequent. I'll just pull in there to find whatever. And I told Heather, I said, let's pull in there and see if they have it. If any place is going to have it, this place is going to have it. So we pulled in there, and they had two bottles, and I bought both of them. Dude,
Fred's. I know, yeah, Fred's. I know what you're talking about.
dude, I'm going to tell you what. I've had about two bottles in my life that I'll say is a bomb. Like, and I say bomb, like whatever. This, dude, this is like dark caramel and like brown sugar. It's like dark caramel, brown sugar flavored
Yeah.
bourbon, dude. I'll say this, man. If you ask me what's the quintessential dessert bourbon, I would say Woodford Reserve Double Oak. It's the sweetest, most like dessert bourbon. This right here makes Woodford Reserve Double Oak taste like a flagship 80 proof product, man. This is a bomb and a half of dessert liquid. It is so good. And dude, I know I'll have because I have 2 bottles of it. I'll have a pour for you whenever you come, and you'll see. But dude, this quickly became my favorite bottle of bourbon, and I think it's gonna reign in that number one spot for a very long. It's gonna take something pretty special to knock that off. And I know I get it. Like some people, they don't, it's got to be a certain name brand or not or whatever, and that's fine if that's the game you play. But dude, my number one bottle that I've been drinking lately, and I will continue to drink as long as I can find it, is this Rock Castle. Dude, it is phenomenal. It is a phenomenal product. Dan, I see you have a question there.
Yeah. Just had a question of I was wanting to know if two things. Number one, is this going to be your number one for like a little while? And number two, the five that you've picked, you're squared away with them.
What do you mean squared away with them?
I mean, like this is it. Because I like if you're squared away with these, because I know that I'm squared away with mine. I will legitimately try these five.
Oh yeah, I, I'm squared away, and I will say I know I apologized earlier with the palindrome, which is the apple brandy, and you're never going to find it. This, I will say this, they one of the things that their brand ambassador said when he came to the Frankfurt Bourbon Society is they're a very small distillery, and that's probably why I haven't heard of them before then. They're super small. They don't want to be big, and they're only distributed in Kentucky. You'll never find this product outside of Kentucky. And which is why this liquor store that I went to, it is literally when you cross the Tennessee Kentucky border, there's a liquor store right there, and that's why I stopped there to see if they had it, and they did. But they only distribute in Kentucky, so you'll never find this outside of Kentucky. And it is, I mean, it's a pretty, it's about a $80 bottle. So it doesn't fit necessarily our traditional, say $20 to $30 per bottle. But I will say this: I actually did a distillery. So I was so impressed with the distillery, I went and I did a 5 minute distillery tour. If you're familiar with the my
Oh,
um,
yes, yes, yes.
5 minute distillery tours, I did one on the Barrel House. I was so impressed with it. I went and did one. I went and took a tour, did the thing. But dude, I went out and sought this bottle because it was that good. I mean, I will say this. I mean, there are plenty of other bottles that I'll say like they're good, but I don't go seeking after them. I sought after this bottle that was that good.
All right. So I guess that's what I meant by like we're squared away with these because for me at least, and I can only hope that our listeners are the same way. Like the things that you've told me that you are bringing to the table, one through five, I will seek these out to try them because
Oh yeah.
I'm all about do these taste profiles that you've explained and these different things that you've explained. Like I want to taste them so bad.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And for the most part, maybe minus the palindrome, I'm gonna try. I mean, so this is April the 11th, so May June. You're coming the end of June, so 2 months away, maybe. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
two
right.
months from now, 2.5 months from now. I'm gonna try to hold on to some of this stuff, but I can't guarantee it. Um,
So they all taste like apple juice, is what I'm hearing.
so yeah, they probably will all taste like apple juice by the time you get
Hey,
here.
I
Dude,
get
I'm
it.
telling you, man. Like I feel like as of right now, My 5 are solid. They're worth seeking after. And if you're, a little bit more than a beginner in the bourbon world and you kind of want to seek after some new stuff, I mean, these are certainly worth seeking after. I mean, but like I said, this one you can only get in Kentucky. The Palindrome you probably never get again. And the rest of them you just have to kind of, I think the Monon Bell one, I think that's only a St. Louis or Missouri offered one.
Well, I will drink to every single one of yours. I do look forward to every week doing our bottles.
Oh, too.
But I've really enjoyed these last 2 episodes of, not only did we get to know kind of like our own taste profile, but a little bit of the history behind them. So we got to know a little bit about why we pick what we pick and who we are and everything like that. So I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I did too, man. I did too.
So, well, until next time, I want to like you so bad, but I can't.
Yeah, I get it. I don't like me either.
Well, yeah, you're kind of hot, so there's that. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
All right, homie. I love you.
I love you too, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. If you like what you heard tonight, check us out on these social media platforms. Just search for My Journey Through the American Spirits. Also, check us out on our new website,